For the first time since the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in World War II, US military bases came under direct missile attack from a foreign power, in this case, Iran.
For the entirety of my life, the two countries that I'm a product of and that I hold nationality in, Iran and the US, have been hostile to one another. Save with the exception of what happened with the Iran deal where there was communication, we've never had formal diplomatic relations. There's always been a state of hostility. And what that taught me from an early age is that governments are not the same as people.
Iranians have been risking their lives protesting against the regime's handling of the Ukrainian plane crash. Iranian security forces fired live ammunition and tear gas to disperse demonstrators. The regime is already responsible for killing 1,500 people in a brutal crackdown on protests in November. The plane was accidentally downed following Iranian retaliation for the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, widely thought to be the second most important man in the Iranian regime's chain of command. The Iranian military was on high alert and mistook the aircraft for hostile cruise missiles. None of the 176 people on board survived. These unprecedented incidents sparked global fears of an imminent new global conflict.
Donald Trump urged countries, including the UK, to send a clear and united message to Iran that its campaign of terror will no longer be tolerated.
How tense, how delicate, how fragile and dangerous this moment is.
I am announcing today that the United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal.
This was the announcement that marked the start of the recent tensions between the US and Iran. The nuclear deal had ended international sanctions on Iran in return for the country to stop nuclear activities that could have military uses. But Trump claimed it was a bad deal for failing to address Iran's ballistic missile program and its support for terrorist groups in the region. Since then, the US has reimposed crippling sanctions on Iran. Iran and its allies have responded by staging daring attacks on its enemies' oil tankers and refineries. In late December, an attack by Iranian-backed groups in Iraq killed an American contractor. Washington saw this as crossing a red line, ordering the drone strike on Qasem Soleimani's convoy, setting off a new cycle of tit-for-tat attacks.
Qasem Soleimani has been killed, and his bloody rampage is now forever gone.
The panic over the war has sparked anti-war rallies across the globe. In London, people rallied to stop what they see as a repeat of the Iraq invasion of 2003.
We think that the assassination of Soleimani at the orders of Donald Trump last week was an illegal act of war, and the danger is that this situation can escalate. So far, it hasn't escalated into full-scale war, but Trump is increasing the sanctions on Iran, which in my view are economic warfare. He's tearing up the nuclear deal, and he is determined to have a war. He's determined to overthrow the Iranian government. We think that this whole situation is rooted way back, particularly in the invasion of Iraq back in 2003. We're also here to say that the Iraqis have voted to get the American troops out, and that vote should be respected.
Protesters also spoke on the suffering that the people in Iran are going through as a result of sanctions.
Our brothers and our sisters and our actual family members in Iran who've suffered so much under this illegal sanctions that the West has placed against them, they can't protest, so we're out protesting on their behalf so their voices can be heard, because it's been silenced for hundreds of years. From the moment the West stepped foot in Iran to take our oil, that's when we started getting silenced.
I'm here today because it's important to support the people of Iran and support the people of the region against the criminal activities and the imperial infringement of the sovereignty of the people of the region.
Western interventionism has quite a long history in the region. In Iran, British presidents dictated the country's political trajectory up until the Iranian Revolution of 1979. The new Prime Minister Boris Johnson has thrown his support behind Trump's aggressive policy on Iran. This has caused further tensions with Iran and undermined diplomatic efforts to resolve the situation. Jeremy Corbyn, outgoing leader of the British opposition, joined the protesters in criticizing Mr. Johnson for supporting Trump.
And will not lead us into yet another desperate war promoted by yet another United States president with half an eye to populism and another eye towards future trade deals and all the dangers that brings.
He told the New Arab a new deal acceptable to Iran is necessary to prevent war.
Mr. Corbyn, is there something you'd like to tell the Iranian people?
Let's have peace across the whole region. And I'm sorry about the loss of life because of the shooting down of the airliner. The only way forward is one of peace, as I said in my speech today, and let's get a new nuclear agreement.
Both sides have been blamed for violating international law and increasing tensions in the region. Experts say that the only way to avoid a major new conflict is to empower international bodies set up after the Second World War to maintain world peace.
In an ideal world, we would have seen Soleimani tried for those war crimes many years ago, and many lives would have been saved. However, what we have instead is a strike on Soleimani, which is in contravention of international law. So I think one really constructive thing would be to use our global organizations that should be tasked with holding states to account to be seeking, a deterrence of human rights violations in that way. And I think those processes have been falling short.
But with the international community now divided more than ever since the end of the Cold War, a world war remains a possibility. The region seems to be one incident away from a conflict that could trigger it.
Smoke clouds rose to 40,000 feet. Will this power, now available to man, bring another, even more suicidal war upon us?